Hello everyone and welcome to the first game we'll be showing from round 7 and probably the last game we'll be showing from round 7, but I will also show a game from round 8 today. Richard Rapport versus world classical champion Ding Liren. It is one of those weird games where nothing really happened that is wrong, but also one of the players is unable to do anything about it. So let's check it out. Rapport with the white pieces opens with pawn to e4. We have pawn to e5 by Ding and the bishop to c4 as the title, or not the title, the thumbnail would suggest. I'm guessing we're going to use this as a thumbnail. It is the bishop's opening and, Black has a whole variety of options to choose from. Ding goes for knight to f6. And after knight to c3, we basically transpose into the Stanley variation of the Vienna game, or the Stanley variation of the Falkbeer variation of the Vienna game. We have bishop to c5, knight g to e2, and both players castles. So castles, we have pawn to c6, and we have a strike in the center, pawn to d4. E captures on d4, knight captures, and now d5. Ding retaliates by also striking in the center. E captures, and there is a game where knight captures on d5 was played, but here we have c captures on d5, and it is now as of move 8 that we have a completely new game. So okay, bishop is attacked. You have to choose bishop to d3, to e2, or to b3. Richard goes for bishop to b3, and now bishop to g4, attacking the queen here. Pawn to f3, but now you don't have to move the bishop as you've also opened up this diagonal, so Ding just goes after that knight. Knight to c6, knight to e2, defending the knight on d4, and now bishop to h5. We have pawn to c3 and rook to e8. We have bishop to g5, pinning the knight, bishop to g6, and now just king to h1, unpinning, freeing up the knight here, and you should just continue developing. Rook to c8 is a nice move, or even queen to d6, but Ding played queen to b6, which kind of makes sense. You are leaving the d5 pawn sort of unguarded, but you are hoping to snatch the b2 pawn while everything is going down. But here we have bishop captures on f6, g captures, and now just knight to f4. Of course, you're not going to take the d5 pawn right away. First knight to f4, knight to e7, now defending on d5, and again, if you capture twice, then the b2 pawn will still be hanging, and now queen to d2, developing, connecting the rooks, and the b2 pawn will now be defended. We have king to g7 and rook f to e1. Now, again, what happens if you capture on d5 now with the b2 pawn defended? Well, the problem is rook is coming to d8, and that will be what Black will use to get a lot out of this game. For example, rook 8 to d8 will attack the bishop, and once the bishop moves, you will take on d4. And after c captures, rook captures, Black wins the pawn back and has an excellent game. Both of the rooks are already into the game. And if anything, we like Black better here. So after king g7, rook f to e1, and now bishop captures on d4, queen captures, we have queen captures on d4, and now c captures on d4. And now, while you could just defend with rook 8 to d8, but it wouldn't really be all that great. I mean, you could play it, but now your knight and rook are stuck here for a very long time guarding this d5 pawn. This rook can't really get into the game. It's a really silly way to play chess. Of course, one unfitting for a world champion. So he goes knight to f5, counterattacks. The d4 pawn is hanging now. Rook e to d1 was played, defending the pawn. He wants this rook on c1. Rook 8 to d8, now defending the pawn, and rook 8 to c1. We have knight to e3, going after the rook, rook to e1, and now knight to c4. So defending the d5 pawn with tactics, and now rook captures on e8. We have rook captures, and now, well, you could capture on d5 right away. First pawn to h4, freeing up some room for the white king. You don't want to get checkmated at some point. Pawn to b5, defending on c4, and only now knight captures on d5. We have knight captures on b2, and rook to c7. Now, captures on b2 was a tough decision for Ding, but if you don't want to be down material, you have to play it, which allows rook to c7. And even though the bishop here is guarding the f7 pawn, you know that bishop can't remain there for a very long time as the knight is coming to f4. So pawn to a5, and now the immediate knight to f4. We have pawn to a4 and bishop to d5. Knight to d3, hoping to trade knight for knight, but of course Richard will take the bishop. We have h captures and rook captures on f7. King to h6, we have rook captures on f6, grabbing another pawn as well. Rook to d8, attacking the bishop, bishop to c6, and king to g7 first, attacking the rook, rook to e6. Only now rook captures on d4, attacking the h4 pawn as well. Bishop captures on b5 and rook captures on h4 with check. King to g1 and now rook to d4. We have pawn to a3 and pawn to g5. And here we have this position where Richard is up a pawn. He has a bishop against the knight, but of course it's not easy to push this for a win. And he goes for rook to e3. The correct way is rook to e4. You will force a rook trade. If the rook moves, of course, you're just going to win the pawn. So a trade will happen here, and we are also attacking the a4 pawn. And once the knight defends and attacks, you'll play bishop to c6. And now, once the king gets into the game, this will be just winning for white. But it's, I mean, rapid chess. Both of them, well, Rapport around 10 minutes on the clock. Ding had 11 minutes on the clock here. Rapport played rook to e3 and now knight to f4. We have rook back to e4 now, but now rook to d1 with check, bishop to f1, and now knight to d5. Rook to a1 going after the a3 pawn was definitely the way to go. King to f2, rook to d2 with check. We have king to g3 and now rook to d1 attacking the bishop. Bishop to c4 attacks the knight and now knight to f4. We have king to g4 and knight captures on g2. This is how Richard gets more out of this game, as it was very, very close to being a draw. King captures on g5. We have rook to a1 now going after the pawn, but now rook to e8. And with the bishop guarding the g8 square, the king covering these three squares, there is not a lot Ding can do here. Rook captures on a3 was played. Rook to g8 with check, king to h7, and now rook to f8. Only move that wins the game, but it's not an easy one to miss because you also have to defend the f3 pawn. So rook to f8, and now what's the real threat here? The real threat is here, let's say rook to a1 is played, rook to f7 check, forcing the king into the corner, and once the king moves, king to g6. And now you're just going to win. This is going to be checkmate, or if you deliver a check, then king h6, and now this will be checkmate, and there's no way to stop this. You cannot give a check, your knight is in the way. Completely winning. So after rook f8, rook to c3 was played. The only way to avoid checkmate is to go after the light square bishop. Rook to f7 with check, king to g8, even going under the mask of the bishop as there's no useful check. You could give a rook to c7 check and defend the bishop, but then king f8, and believe it or not, this is now a draw. So after king to g8, bishop to e6, again, you just have to avoid your bishop being captured. We have rook to e3 going after the bishop, bishop to d5, and pawn to a3 now. You could also deliver a check here, for example, rook to e5 with check, but then rook to f5 with a discovered check, and then you're going to lose the rook. Oh, of course, rook captures, and this endgame is winning for Rapport. So after bishop d5, a3 was played, king to h6. And now, how to stop getting just checkmated here. Rook to d3, going after the bishop on d5, bishop to c4, and now knight to e3. One last creative attempt by Ding. Even though it doesn't work, it's actually very nice. Point being that if you capture the rook right away, then king captures on f7, and it seems like you're out of the woods because you're gonna play bishop to b1, stop the pawn here, and that everything will be fine. But it won't. Wait, sorry, just let me check real quickly. I don't think, yeah, Rapport was, no, yeah, everything's perfectly fine. No, I thought I messed something up on the graphics. So bishop to b1, king to f6, and now Ding would just easily win the game here. For example, king to h5, knight to d5, king to h4, king to h4, and now knight to c3 attacks the bishop, and also the queening square is covered, so of course it will be winning. But yeah, rook to g7 was played, and it was in this position on move 54 that Ding Liren resigned the game, as there is nothing more to be done here. So that's a pretty strong win for Rapport, and as you've seen, there was no pause the video moment. This game Ding didn't really mess up anything huge. He just had two suboptimal decisions on maybe two occasions, starting with that queen to b6 idea that just wasn't fitting for this line. And yeah, here he resigned because, of course, if you go here, then it's mate in one with rook to g8 checkmate or rook to h7 checkmate. And if the king goes to f8, it's not much better, just bishop captures on d3. And once you move the pawn, rook to a7, queening square is covered, and that's pretty much it. So yeah, Magnus defeated Friedman also in round 7, and Vincent played against Maxim Vachier-Lagrave, and their game ended in a draw, even though Vince was again winning. But yeah, this is the third time Vince had a winning position against some very strong players, but he couldn't deliver. So we'll see what happens next. But yeah, very nicely done by Rapport. Now Ding, as a consolation prize, meets Magnus Carlsen in the next round. So hopefully he does better there. So yeah, that's the game. Hope you guys enjoyed it. I would like to thank Stefan Arnold Schelp, rest in peace, David Gatten, Joyful Chess Lover, Mr. Hoodie Guy, and Andreas Rosenthal for your contribution to my channel. Thank you a lot. I really appreciate it. As usual, you can check two of my previous videos here. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you soon, continuing to check up on your wonderful suggestions and whatever else happens in the chess world. So thank you all. I will see you soon, and have an excellent rest of your day.